I'm Jake.
And I'm Colin.
You're watching Gas Guzzlers.
And this is the 2024 Lexus RX 500h F-Sport Performance.
And it's a high-performance car for high-performance families.
What does that mean, Jake?
We're gonna find out. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the exterior of the Lexus RX 500h, starting with the lighting system. Now, the kids rolling in the back of the RX 500h, they're shining stars. This is a high-performance family. They get good grades, they're captains of their sports teams, right? They're doing awesome. These headlights are also a shining star. Perhaps they shine a little too much, because I've noticed that sometimes at night, the light from these bad boys can reflect off of white signs and bounce into the driver's eyes, and it kind of blinds you a little bit. They might just be a little too high performance. The auto high beams are a very nice feature. They do a great job of lighting up roads, especially country roads, and if there's an oncoming vehicle, they're gonna automatically shut off so that you don't blind that oncoming driver. I have noticed that the vehicle has a little difficulty detecting the brake lights and rear lights of older vehicles. So sometimes you're on the highway, you pull up and there's an older car right in front of you. The cameras here don't always detect that there's a car right in front of you, so they fail to disengage the high beams. That has resulted in, drivers of older cars in front of me flashing their lights at me like, hey, stop blinding me with your high beams. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find out how to stop blinding you, but you're messing with the stalks in there. I had no idea how to shut off the auto high beams at first. Eventually, I got it figured out, but very, very high performance lights that are great for you. Just don't drive behind any of your close friends.
Let's talk about the highway driver assist systems you have on this vehicle. Now, riddled across the entire front of this Lexus, you're gonna find sensors and cameras. And what that is going to do is it's gonna help with your lane trace assist and your radar cruise control. Now, I have to say, on a much larger sample size on this vehicle of about 1,300 miles, I noticed that lane trace assist could sometimes be a little off with the center dashed line. Sometimes it would drift a little closer, and even on very rare but noticeable occasions, it would get on that line. Now, I have to preface, compared to some other vehicles which have done better, much, much larger sample size. As I said, 1,300 miles, so it might not be worse than other vehicles, just got exposed a little more on some higher turns. Now, it's not all bad with this system. There's some very good features. One that comes to mind, when you turn on your turn signal in a lot of other vehicles, what it will do there is it'll disengage your radar cruise control and it'll bring you up to the speed that you were set at. What that means is in other vehicles, turn signal on, you speed up as you're moving over. Not a big deal if you're passing. However, if you're in traffic, that could be dangerous. It could zoom you really close to someone else. This vehicle does not do that. When you turn on your turn signal, the radar cruise control stays engaged and it does not shoot you up to your set speed, allowing you to make more stable lane changes.
Thanks, Colin, for the analysis of the highway driving systems. You know what else is important when you're on the highway? Noise, vibration, and harshness reduction. Lexus has done a very good job of keeping shakes and sounds outside of the cabin by using a generous amount of foam and other sound insulating materials throughout the construction of the RX 500h. It's actually very quiet in there. However, I will say that I've noticed the engine of the RX 500h, which sounds great when accelerating, can drone a little bit on the highway and cause some noise on the interior of the cabin. However, noises like passing cars, noises like wind and bumps and such, you can hardly hear them in the cabin. The noise isolation was extraordinary.
Moving on to the side of the Lexus RX 500h, let's talk about one of the most important options, the $595 copper crest color. This is a must-have. In Jake and I's humbly correct opinion, this is the best color for this car, period. Not just that, one of the best colors on any car produced today. It is stunning. When we were driving around on the sea of monotony of the highways, when we spotted another Lexus RX 500 in this color, it stood out. it is a head turner. People stop to look at this car. It is stunning. Now, there is one slight downside to the copper crest color option, and that is that it locks you into one interior color option, the black leather with the dark graphite aluminum trim. Now, that is a very handsome and sophisticated interior color. So it's not like you're getting locked into some horrible interior. You get this beautiful color in an even more stunning interior. Now, in the comments below, you can let us know if you have the wrong opinion about this color. But Jake, why don't you tell them about the tires a little?
Yeah, so since we have the F-Sport Performance, we get the 21-inch alloy wheels here, and they're wrapped in a high-performance tire. We have 235s in this case.
Now, Jake mentioned this is the F-Sport Performance, so it can't just be appearance features. You've got to have some nice performance tech. Behind these wheels, you're going to find the McPherson struts exclusive to this F-Sport trim. And it's not just that. The steering on this car has another little trick hidden up its sleeve.
And that fun little feature that Colin's referring to is rear wheel steering. So these wheels can actually very ever so slightly turn. How does that help you? Well, at low speeds, the rear wheels can turn in the opposite direction of the front wheels, decreasing the size of your turning circle. At high speeds, the rear wheels can turn in the same direction as the front wheels, giving you increased stability.
Let's talk about the rear storage area on the Lexus RX 500h. With this second row up, you're going to get about 29 cubic feet of storage space. Fold this down using the power buttons behind me, you're going to get about 46 cubic feet of storage space. Now, some other amenities, you have a standard household outlet back here. There's also a first aid kit back here, as well as your cargo cover. Now, the coolest feature about this rear seating area is that these seats are the optional 40-20-40 split. Why is that so important? It allows you to seat 4 full-sized adults while still having larger cargo in your storage area. So if you fold this down, you can fit something like skis through your storage area without compromising these 2 seats. Love to see that on this vehicle.
Now you join me on the interior of the Lexus RX 500h F-Sport Performance. Now, everything in here is very well built. It doesn't shake, it doesn't rattle, as you would expect from a Lexus vehicle. But what is really special about this interior are a few simple yet impactful features that Lexus has implemented throughout the RX lineup that makes life for our high-performance family just a little less stressful and a little bit easier. For example, in the infotainment system, it alerts you when you're entering a school zone and it welcomes you when you enter a new state. Perhaps my favorite feature is the adjustable height cup holders. You press a button and the cup holders rise up and become shallower. That's very nice if you have a can of soda, but you can also press them down to make them deeper. Very nice if you have a tall hydro flask bottle. Back to the infotainment system, another really nice feature is offline maps. So if the Lexus detects that you're about to lose signal, it will go ahead and download the rest of your map route to the infotainment system so that you can continue your journey even without GPS. But all of those pale in comparison to what is by far my favorite feature in this vehicle, and that would be the heads-up display. Now, the heads-up display is very clear and bright and large, all things we've come to expect from luxury segment heads-up displays now. But this one is particularly special in how it interacts with the steering wheel. Now, let me back up. In most vehicles, when you use the buttons on the steering wheel, you have to take your eyes off the road and look down to see what you're pressing. Not in the Lexus. These buttons are capacitive. As you rub your finger over any of the buttons, a mirror image of the steering wheel controls pops up in the heads-up display and highlights where your finger is on the buttons on the steering wheel. So you can see exactly which button you are pressing. This is an incredibly thoughtful feature, and it means that you can interact with the whole vehicle through the steering wheel without taking your eyes off the road.
Now in the rear of the RX 500h, I have to say this might be one of the best in class rear seating areas. Let's start with the light back here. This beautiful sunroof just allows so much light in. It really feels nice and bright back here, even with this darker interior color. You also have some very useful amenities. 2 USB-C ports right here, as well as heated and cooled seats in the rear. Once again, cooled seats in the rear of this vehicle. That is incredible. You also have your own climate zone back here. So if you have a different sense of comfort temperature than your driver, no worries. You also have these cup holders as well as some storage here, and overall, just a lot of legroom. Once again, near best in class. Now, being that this is the Lexus RX 500h F Sport Performance, you would expect it to perform very well, and it certainly delivers. Under the hood, you're gonna find a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine producing a respectable 366 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. Now, you might have noticed in that mouthful of a name, there's a little H tagged onto the end of that 500. This is a hybrid. So you're gonna have 2 electric motors, one in the front under the gas engine and one on the rear axle. Now that's gonna get you a very respectable gas mileage, about 27 city, 28 highway. But one downside of this vehicle is that since it is a sportier vehicle, it does take premium gas. So at the gas station, it can get a little expensive.
Now, if expense at the gas station is a concern for you, Lexus has a plug-in hybrid version coming. The RX 450 is going to offer 37 miles of all-electric range, and we have one on the way. So make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see that review when it comes out. Let's talk driver assistance features because there are many. This has Lexus Safety System Plus 3.0. That's going to bring a lot of features that you are used to seeing. For example, we have blind spot monitoring, we have rear cross traffic alert, as well as front cross traffic alert. Colin, I know, was very pleased in particular with the cross traffic alert features that the RX brings to the table. We already talked about some of the highway driver assist features, but perhaps my favorite driver assist feature is traffic jam assist. Now, with the traffic jam assist in this vehicle, you can actually take your hands off of the steering wheel when you are in stop and go traffic, and the RX is going to manage everything safely for you. On the subject of driver assistance features, this car beeps at you a lot. It is very sensitive. For example, when you are merging over into the lane, if there's someone in your blind spot, the car will beep. If you're trying to merge to the right and there's someone in your right blind spot, it'll beep. That's very useful. However, the area with which the car considers to be your blind spot is extremely large. So you might be doing a perfectly safe merge where you can fully see the other vehicle in your wing mirror, but the car will still beep and chime at you saying, hey, there's someone in your blind spot, when that's just not true. Another big area the car will kind of beep and chime at you is if you're maybe halfway over the line as you're merging. So you've turned your signal on, you're halfway merged over, and you shut your signal off before you're fully in the other lane, it will ding at you with the lane trace assist system. And then finally, there's the driver monitor alert system. These sets of cameras right here are watching you. And if you take your eyes off the road for too long, it's gonna ding at you and say, pay attention. Now, obviously, you should be paying attention at all times while driving, but I found that sometimes when I'm looking to other areas of the road and still paying attention, it has dinged at me and said, look straight ahead, and gotten angry at me. Luckily, you can turn that off by going to settings, and then you go to driver assist, go to driver support, scroll all the way at the bottom, turn off driver monitor alert, and now you're ready to rock. Here we have our digital gauge cluster on the RX 500h, and it is very customizable. For example, I'm going to put this vehicle into sport mode real quick, and when I put into sport mode, watch how the gauge cluster changes. We get a much more sporty rev counter right there. That is really fun to see. If that's not sporty enough for you, we can also pull up a G meter or boost gauge. How do we do that? We're going to use these buttons right here along with that heads up display that I praised earlier. So if I maneuver, see how I can see where my finger is in the heads up display? That's pretty cool. We're going to pop over until we've pulled up our boost gauge. Check that out right there. Or we can go over again and get our G-force meter and check that bad boy out. We also have our gear position, a blank page if you're feeling a little calm, fuel consumption, average time elapsed, energy monitor, and back to audio. So a great use of the digital display here.
One of the options we have on this RX 500 is the 21 speaker Mark Levinson speaker system. Now, this is gonna cost you about $2,265. However, if you're really into good audio quality, I can highly suggest this. Even from the bass balance, it's almost already perfect. Now, included in that package, you're gonna get the 14-inch infotainment screen.
Here is the aforementioned 14-inch infotainment display. As you can see, we have a widescreen display here for your maps, music, etc. And then permanently down at the bottom, we have your climate options displayed. Let's take a quick tour here before Colin leads us into Apple CarPlay. As you can see, we have maps, nothing to write home about. What I want to show you are some of the monitors that you get here. For example, we have an energy flow monitor, so you can see if that hybrid battery is being utilized. In the same vein, we do have our all-wheel drive monitor right here. As you can see which wheel is getting power because you have that electric motor in the rear giving you basically all-wheel drive. I also want to show you some of the personalization options that we have here. If we go vehicle customization and then illumination and then theme, you can change the color of your ambient lighting to be, well, whatever you would like.
Here is your CarPlay, and I have to say this is a very snappy system. Seamless connection. It pairs very well with the wireless charger. Now, one thing on this vehicle is it doesn't have a home button like a lot of others have to get you off your CarPlay. Simply to get off CarPlay, you just press the Lexus app, back to your normal infotainment system.
One really cool feature of the RX 500h is this digital rear view mirror. So you're watching me through a video feed. This is really useful if you have large items in your trunk that are blocking your rear visibility.
You might have noticed we're nearing the end of this video and there hasn't been a whole lot of driving in this video. That's because we were blessed with the opportunity to drive this vehicle all the way to Indiana for one of our close friends' weddings. So if you want to see what this vehicle is like on an actual true road test, check out that video in the description below. Now, as for our thoughts on this vehicle, I'm going to do something that no auto journalist has ever done before. I'm going to think about this car's target audience. Because for me, this car just isn't it. It's expensive and it just doesn't perform like I expect a car to. But that's because I'm a young, single, forever single male. So I'm not looking at this for what it is, but for that high performance family, this is special.
Yeah, I think you really did something incredibly mature there, Colin, which is quite surprising actually. You don't expect maturity from gas guzzlers, but here you are. That interior is great. You got the cooled seats in the back for the kids after soccer practice. You got the wireless charger and all the charging ports up front for mom and dad to be charging all of their different devices. You've got the heads-up display, which makes it easy to keep your family safe by keeping your eyes on the road. And you have just a little dash of performance tossed in there with the F-Sport Performance package, which is gonna let you have just a little bit more fun than you would in a traditional SUV, all for what I would argue is an extremely fair price. I'm Jake.
And I'm Colin.
You're watching Gas Guzzlers.
And this was the Lexus RX 500h F-Sport Performance.
Very impressive how many times you've said that name and have not stuttered. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you in next week's video.